I heard you can now mount a Cloud Storage bucket as a file directory in your Cloud Run service.
That's right. This lets you access files in your bucket as if they were on your local file system. And when you add, remove, or update a file, you don't need to build a new container image every time.
I have the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS files for a simple website in a Google Cloud Storage bucket. I made the bucket public so it can serve that website to users. But I would like to add my own domain and identity-aware proxy in front of it so only employees can access it. And the organization is not allowed to have public cloud storage buckets per its org policy. So I can't use cloud storage for static web hosting.
One option is to include your static files in the container with a web server and then execute that on Cloud Run. Like you did in one of your recent videos, Martin, where you created a React app and used a Node.js Express server. This allows you to use identity-aware proxy or expose your website only within your VPC.
Yeah, that's right. I will add the link to that video in the description. But well, this time I don't have the requirement for a backend API. And it's a very simple website, mainly hosting PDFs and other static assets. They change very often, and I don't want to build a new container image every time. I might also want to share these static assets across many web apps.
Okay, I see. So a second option is to keep your static website files in the cloud storage bucket and then use a simple Nginx container on Cloud Run as the web server.
That sounds like exactly what I need. That will give me a Cloud Run endpoint, so I can use identity-aware proxy and Cloud Armor and other advanced features with it.
Exactly, yes. Let's set it up. So here we have your cloud storage bucket blocked from public access. But we can set things up so your Cloud Run service can read it. We need to create a Cloud Run service for the web server, and we can use the Nginx base image directly from Docker Hub. Type gcloud run deploy image Nginx, port 80, and execution environment Gen 2. This will take the official and latest Nginx base image from Docker Hub directly, deploy it, and expose it by the default Nginx port 80. To mount a cloud storage bucket into Nginx, we can do that with two flags. One, for creating a volume for the Cloud Run service of the type of a cloud storage bucket pointing to this bucket we showed before. And one for mounting this volume in the Nginx specific directory where static assets are expected to be. Let's deploy it. That will take some minutes. Let's wait.
Great. Now let me try the Cloud Run URL. Yep, and there's my website. Now let me change the index.html file. I will update this headline. And then I'll save the file. Then I will upload that file to Google Cloud Storage. And now I'll refresh the page in my browser. And there is the updated headline. Nice. Now, how does this actually work, Christoph?
So Cloud Run is using GCS Fuse behind the scenes. When your Cloud Run container reads from your local file system your HTML file, GCS Fuse translates those file reads to a Cloud Storage API call. So now if you change or add new files in your bucket, it instantly becomes available in your Cloud Run service. Because of this pattern, you need to work with some limitations. with Google Cloud Storage bucket mounts. Concurrency controls for multiple writes to the same file do not work. It is also crucial to consider caching mechanisms to minimize costs and latency. Nginx content caching or a Cloud CDN are two very efficient approaches. Without this caching, each request would trigger a Google Cloud Storage GET request, leading to a very increasing cost factor.
All right, this looks easy to set up. I also like that we don't have to build a container ourselves. I assume my Cloud Run service is using Nginx's default configuration. What if I want a custom config instead? Let's say I want Nginx to send custom headers to users' web browsers, for example.
You can also use Google Cloud Storage bucket mounts to mount a config file in the directory in which Nginx expects a user config. Here I can have a Cloud Storage bucket with a specific config file. Then I add a new mount to the Cloud Run service using gcloud run service update for that. Then we create a new volume with the following flag: add volume, name Nginx, and the type is Cloud Storage. And we point it to the storage bucket with the config file. And then we mount this additional volume to the Nginx config path using the following flag: add volume mount, the name of our volume, and to the Nginx specific config path.
That looks useful. But I have included the config file in my container before, and that worked just fine.
You could create your own container image that contains your config file, but that means you have to rebuild the container image every time you have an update of your Nginx config. Mounting config is a very common use case. For example, if you want to use a public hosted and provided container image for tools like Grafana, you can take those publicly hosted images and mount your config directly.
That makes sense.
Now, if you refresh your page, Nginx is adding additional headers based on our config we just added. Look, there's a new header. I added the serverless expedition header with the value of Martin Omanda.
I wonder how browsers will interpret that header. I don't think it's in any HTTP standard. I hope they won't crash. But I can see how this would be useful when you want to set cache headers, for example. So mounting a file system like this is handy. I can see myself using it for other things as well. For example, in an event-driven function, one function that listens for file upload events, those functions could read the file directly from the file system. Or in my Gen AI app on Cloud Run using LangChain, it could load a Chroma embedding database from a cloud storage bucket using just a regular file system read.
Yes, this feature makes Cloud Run a lot more flexible.
You showed us how to mount a cloud storage bucket as a file system. Now, what if my files are somewhere else, not in a cloud storage bucket?
Cloud Run mount can also lead to NFS servers. If your files are on Google Cloud File Store or your own self-hosted NFS servers, those NFS servers can also be mounted directly to your local file system.
Very good.
Cloud Run mounts are recently launched. We have summarized this launch in a blog post with additional use cases. You should have a look and get inspired by what's possible with it.
Excellent. Thanks for explaining this to us, Christoph.
Thanks for having me, Martin.
And thank you, everyone, for watching. If you have questions for Christoph or me, please add a comment below. Also, let me know if there are any other serverless topics you'd like to see in future episodes. I read every single comment. Until next time!